do like, though, for the Saints is that once again, they see an NFC that is as a whole weak, and they're saying, you know what? Let's make the moves. And the reason I like this, if this doesn't work, the Saints are going to get clarity. If the Saints aren't a team that's winning double-digit games and winning a rather weak division, I think you got your answer about the coaching staff. So what they do this offseason? First, they improve the quarterback spot. You don't have to love Derek Carr, but Derek Carr absolutely is an improvement at the quarterback position because, to put it into perspective, Derek Carr's floor was Andy Dalton's ceiling. So now think about if Derek Carr hits his ceiling, which we know is a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback who is capable of taking a team to the playoffs. We saw what he did with the Raiders in 2021. That's the first thing you check off. You lost defensive tackles, David Onyemata, Shai Tuttle. What'd you do earlier today? You brought in Colin Saunders and you also brought in Nathan Shepard. Now, are they elite players? No, not at the moment, not at all. But the Saints gave out contracts that hint there's a plan in place for them. And it's also worth noting the Saints, when it came to stopping the run, ranked 24th last year, weren't exactly great in that anyway. I thought the D-line needed to be overhauled. So they're doing that there. And there's still a lot of more work that needs to be done. I believe the Saints' first-round pick, if I had to just make a prediction today, I'd imagine it's going to be on a defensive lineman. That's just my early gut feeling on this situation. But they're making improvements there. How about retaining your own free agents that you have visions for? Look, I just mentioned Onyemata and Shai Tuttle. They're gone. Caden Ellis, unfortunately, left. Marcus Davenport's in Minnesota now. Saints brought back Michael Thomas on a one-year, $10 million deal that could shoot up to $15 million. I think that's a good move because he's the MT of old, and that seems like a bargain. Or it doesn't work out, and you say, man, you're a free agent next year, and we tried. It wasn't working because of the injuries. And how about Juwan Johnson? He's back in the fold. And he had another really good year in terms of taking that next step, over 40 catches, 7 touchdowns. He's going to be with Derek Carr, who does nothing but love throwing to tight ends. I think that's going to be a nice marriage for those two down in New Orleans. So I think you're doing a good job there. Are the Saints perfect this offseason? No, because again, what you do on paper doesn't always translate to the football field. But they're making moves that, as a fan, even if you were pessimistic like I was back in January, how can you sit here and be like, I'm not feeling good about this? Because guess what? I thought the Saints defensive line needed to be overhauled and revamped. They're doing that. They needed another running back. They just added one and could add another in the draft if they want to. They needed to get better at quarterback. Derek Carr is an improvement. They're doing things that we wanted them to do. Now it's about the coaching staff putting it into work and making sure the execution's there. So I don't have a cap on right now. If I did, I'd absolutely tip it to Mickey Loomis, Kai Harley, Jeff Ireland, this whole front office, what they're doing right now. From a personnel standpoint, I like it. I really do. They're not overpaying for guys that I think just don't fit their timeline. They're not making any moves that will cripple them for years to come. I like it. And like I said, and it's kind of the title of this video, right? Did the Saints inch closer to being contenders? On paper, the answer is yes. And that doesn't always mean will happen in September, October, November, December, January. But look around the NFC right now. Look at two teams from the NFC North, by the way, who are usually perennial playoff teams. The Green Bay Packers, they're about to lose Aaron Rodgers. And maybe that's a good thing in the locker room for them with the way this situation is played out. But they're going to lose a superstar, 4-time MVP quarterback. And the Vikings have cut Eric Kendricks. They've lost Patrick Peterson. They could lose Zadarius Smith. We'll see if they have to end up getting rid of him. They could end up cutting Harrison Smith as well. They have made a lot of moves there. And frankly, they are kind of in a weird position where I think they kind of know we won a lot of one-possession games. I don't know how often that happens back-to-back years. Maybe they're entering a different period. But forget about those two teams in the NFC. Let's focus on the division for a second, and then I'll get to the comments that you guys have in the chat. Look around the NFC South. You have the Panthers who, yes, they signed Andy Dalton. They made some really nice signings here and there. Hayden Hurst, Miles Sanders. I really particularly like Miles Sanders with their coaching staff. I think he's going to be a good fit. I think there are things to like that Carolina's doing. But Carolina kind of tipped their hand for next season because they traded for the number 1 pick. Got rid of this year's first, got rid of next year's first, got rid of a future second, got rid of DJ Moore to ensure they could get their quarterback. Now, in the long run, if they hit on that pick, who cares what they gave up? Because they'd have a franchise quarterback for years to come. So I absolutely love the idea of you go for it. If it doesn't work, woof. But if it does, you really feel like you're on top of the world. How about the Falcons? They're in this weird spot where they're spending on defensive players. Caden Ellis, David Onyemata, Jesse Bates. but offensively, not improving. You go out and you get Taylor Heinicke, so you have your veteran backup, but that signals that you're going to start Desmond Ridder. And it was so weird to me because Atlanta seemed like the perfect team to just go after Lamar, make a run. If they match your offer, they match your offer, but give it a shot. And they didn't. So it seems like they're kind of playing for future years. How about the Buccaneers? This one's fascinating to me. They go out and get Baker Mayfield, and you think, okay, maybe they're going to say Baker with their veteran weapons, maybe they can win the division. While that is still possible because, man, it's a bad division, you see that he got a 1-year, $4 million deal that can turn into an $8.5 million deal if he hits his incentives. That signals two things to me. One, they're not thinking that this is going to be some type of resurgence. This is bridge / maybe you be the backup for a little bit if we like what Kyle Trask is doing in training camp. So the Saints are, out of the 4 teams in the NFC South, not only the best team on paper, they're the only team right now that's signaled they're going for this. And this might be a mistake. We'll look back and we'll figure this out. But as of right now, if I had to pick teams that I feel good about making the playoffs on paper, the Saints would be one of them. And Jamal Williams, absolutely, in terms of helping you move forward in the right direction, how can you say he doesn't do that? You know?